What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio. This is Stat Diggers for UFC Vegas 69. We have Jessica Andrade, the very handsome Jessica Andrade with her nice blue hair, taking on Erin Blanchfield. And we have, I think, 11 fights to talk about. Not the best fight card in the world, but we have some fights to talk about, and that's what we are here for on a Monday. We did not go live, obviously, Sunday due to the Super Bowl, but we're here, Weezy, on Sunday. How you feel about this card?
Yeah, I mean, a day later than usual, but nobody really cared that we weren't around yesterday. You had plenty of entertainment, great game to watch, but here we are, 11 fights, UFC Vegas 69. And when you started looking at this card, you said to yourself, am I tripping on acid, or did the UFC actually really do this? Yeah, they really did this. It looked better before, though. There were some good fights on this card that got canceled or rescheduled. So, we're going to make the most of what we have. And I always say, the best cards of the year are the ones where we find ways to stack cash tickets like flapjacks, make a ton of money. And if we can find some angles here, maybe we can make this one of our favorite cards of the year. But as of right now, with the name power that we got here, Brady, it looks like a bit of a stinker.
Yeah, I do unfortunately have 4 bets already that we'll talk about on the show. I know you have some bets as well. So we do have some spots already, some spots sticking out, and we're going to break them all down. Before we get started, if you guys can please leave a like here on Pub Sports Radio on the show, subscribe to Pub Sports Radio, check out the weekly contest that we do. A shout out to Clint. I think he took down first place last time out. Typically $100 to first for the winner. So make sure you guys compete in that week in and week out. It's free money if you get first place. Other than that, be sure to become a channel member as well. Sign up for there. And I think I covered about everything, but I do want to shout out the chat. Thank you guys for hanging out here on a Monday. We got Bob in the chat. We got I Am the One. We got Philip. We got A. We got Victor. We got Cole. We got Mushroom. We got Jeff. We got Pink in the chat. And we got Pasquale. What is up, guys? Thank you for hanging out. Be sure to smash that like button. But Weezy, I say we get into it so we are not here on here all night. I feel like I've broken this card down like 50 times today. But I'm excited for it because this card's so good that I could break it down a million times and just keep doing it.
Sure is.
Heck yeah. All right, we'll start with the first fight of the card. We have Clayton Carpenter going against Juan Camilo Ronderos. We got Clayton Carpenter, who's 26 years old, 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. Ronderos, 27 years old, 5'4" with a 64.5-inch reach. It's been a pretty long layoff for Ronderos, 1 year and 8 months, and I forgot why, but shout out to Clint, he reminded me. Apparently, he popped for cocaine, so he's been out for a while, got popped for that cocaine, but he's back now, and he's taking on Clayton Carpenter. Carpenter was able to get a decision win on the Contender Series last time out, earn a contract, and then Juan Camilo Ronderos is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut on a very short notice against David Dvorak, got hurt on the feet, and then got submitted shortly after. So, yeah, there's a lot of fights I'm passing on, Weezy, and this is the first one I'm going to be passing on just due to the price tag. I think Clayton Carpenter's pretty solid, but he's a massive favorite here. Ronderos, it was very undersized for the division, only 5'4". I think Carpenter's going to have the size advantage in this matchup. I think Carpenter's going to be the better wrestler. I think Ronderos has some good wrestling in his own right, but it seems like when guys try to flip the script and take him down, they're absolutely able to do so. I think Carpenter's much more dangerous on the feet. I think he's much more dangerous on the mat, and I kind of lean towards Carpenter getting a finish here, but I just can't lay this price tag on the guy because Ronderos and Carpenter, they're pretty similar. Like Ronderos is going out there and getting a lot of takedowns. But I just think size is going to matter here, and I think Carpenter is the better fighter in this matchup. So I like Carpenter, but I don't like the price tag. Weezy, anything sticking out to you here on the first fight of the night?
Yeah, I mean, like this kid Carpenter's a good prospect, very good prospect. And he'll be the bigger guy. He's an MMA lab kid. He's only got 6 pro fights in less than 50 minutes in the pro cage, but he's been like, his dad was taking him around the world to fight as like a kid. This guy's got like a win over Aaron Pico in a pancreation match, like back in like 2009. He's been fighting forever, literally. Junior Golden Gloves champion, national Muay Thai champion for his for his age group and weight class. This guy was he's been doing it all since he was very, very young. So even though the numbers look like he's inexperienced, he's definitely not, and he's a well-rounded guy. Good striker, good grappling. He's putting it all together, and he's still only 26 years old. So very interesting prospect here in Clayton. And then with Ronderos, you got a guy who's pretty much a wrestler, very undersized for the weight class, like you said. So on the feet, he's at a reach disadvantage. He's at a power disadvantage. it's hard for him to win minutes on the feet. So he's going to go to that wrestling over and over again, and he can get takedowns. He can get top control. He can do position over submission and win minutes that way. So that's what I worry about here with Carpenter. Being on the Carpenter side, I think Ronderos' only win condition here is a decision. He's just not a finisher. But Carpenter is a lot more well-rounded, and he has finished some fights. He's finished 4 of his 6 pro wins. And like I say, he's going to be the much better striker here. But what's interesting about Ronderos is the only UFC experience he has is against Dvorak, and he took that fight. I think he had to weigh in less than 48 hours before, after he wound up taking the fight, right?
And he was coked up.
So, Brady, let's talk about cocaine for a second here. And it's something I know that you know very little about. Now, back in my college years, I'm not going to say that I did it, of course, but of course I've seen it around. Let's just say that, right? And here's the thing about cocaine, right? It's almost impossible to test positive for cocaine. Cocaine is only in your system for at a maximum 72 to maybe 4 days, 72 hours to maybe, 96 hours. But most people, especially athletes, after you do cocaine, it'll be out of your system in less than 48 hours, right? So I want to do a first right here on Stat Diggers today for the Carpenter-Ronderos fight. I'm going to do my first ever impression that I've ever done on this show. This is your Uncle Weezy's impression of Juan Camilo Ronderos accepting the David Dvorak fight on short notice. You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take the fight. That's actually what happened. And then he was probably with some hoes partying. And then when he hung up the phone, he said, "Holy shit, I'm in the UFC. Let's get another 8-ball and keep partying." And I'm telling you, Brady, that's exactly what fucking happened. It's mathematically impossible that this dude wasn't high on cocaine when he accepted the fight, because the window that this shit would have been in his system as a professional athlete training at Extreme Couture is only 3 days deep. So he was actually doing blow when he accepted this fight. So we really don't know what Ronderos is going to look like in the UFC yet, because this guy was high on cocaine and then he had to go fucking cut weight and get in the sauna and then make weight. And he missed weight, obviously, because, I mean, even though he's on coke and cokeheads aren't known for missing weight, it still is a problem when you're out there partying. You're probably drinking, doing other stuff. So I just thought it was hilarious that, the mathematical certainty was that this guy accepted a UFC fight high on blow. And I think that might be a first. It might not be. I might be real naive saying that it's a first, but it's almost impossible to test positive for that drug. And the fact that he pissed hot for cocaine on fight day goes to show you, that this guy wasn't ready to fight the first time. But I mean, this should be Clayton Carpenter any way he wants it here. He's bigger. He's younger. He's actually the more experienced fighter as just, combat sports wise for the whole life. And he's also the far more well-rounded fighter here. So I like Clayton here. I think he absolutely gets the job done. And, for Juan Camilo Ronderos being from Colombia, testing positive for cocaine, God damn, that is so cliche, but it happened. Here we are, second UFC fight. Hopefully he gives a better account of himself.
Yep. Man, I like that impression, man. You did well. You did well.
You got to snip up the line, and then you want to take a little bit of it, and you want to put it on your gums like that, and then just go, "Yeah, I'll take the fight." I'm telling you, I don't really do impressions, but that one is probably the best one you're going to get from me all year.
I like it. I like it a lot. Yeah. The cool thing about doing the show on Monday is we have all the props. Nothing really sticking out here for me. The fight doesn't go to decisions, minus 220, minus 240, which I don't know about all of that. I mean, this is the flyweight fight, right? That's a hefty price tag to pay for a fight doesn't go. I think Carpenter probably does finish, but don't really have any interest. Carpenter inside the distance is minus 125. He's minus 175 on the money line. Like, there's nothing sticking out here on this one. Any props sticking out, Weezy? Money line, anything?
Nothing really. It's just a really wide line. I mean, if what's Ronderos by decision listed at right now? Because that might be actually be like his only path. And if it's like plus 700 or better, it might be worth taking a shot.
Yeah, it's plus 550.
Yeah, I would need more than that. But I mean, I think Clay just gets the job done here, man. Ronderos' only path is to win minutes via wrestling.
Yep, I am right there with you. Give me Carpenter for the first fight of the night. Might be playing him in DraftKings. I haven't checked the salaries, but we'll see what he is on DraftKings. Wouldn't mind him there. All right, let us move on to the next fight. We have AJ Fletcher going against Themba Gorimbo. We got Fletcher, 25 years old, 5'10" with a 67-inch reach. Gorimbo, 32 years old, 6 foot with a 76.5-inch reach. Fletcher, 7 years younger. Gorimbo with a 2-inch height advantage, and then a massive, like a 9.5-inch reach advantage here. So Fletcher, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He had a nice knockout win on the Contender Series. Then he dropped back-to-back fights in his debut against Matthew Semmelsberger, very tough out there, and then also lost a decision to Angelusa, another very tough out. I think Angelusa is very underrated. Themba Gorimbo, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He's making his debut here. No Contender Series for him. And yeah, this matchup doesn't make a ton of sense to me. They have Gorimbo coming in here at 32 years old. And I went to watch the tape on this guy. I'm just not sold on him. Like, he's a wrestler. I haven't seen much of his striking, but what I have seen of his striking, it's very sloppy. He leaves a lot of openings, but he's going out there, he's taking down these low-level guys. And, I saw somebody go out there and just take him down like multiple times, and he has nothing off his back. He has no takedown defense in his own right. I feel like this is just a smash spot for Fletcher. I think what the UFC might be doing is just trying to get Fletcher back on track. Like, are they going to try to build up a 32-year-old guy in Gorimbo making his debut, or do they want to build up AJ Fletcher, who's only 25 years old, training with Dustin Poirier? So I think it's a get-right spot here for Fletcher. I feel like Fletcher can knock this guy out on the feet. I think he has the power to do so, and I think he can take him down, pound him out, or find a sub. I'm just not impressed with Gorimbo by any means. Weezy, you feel any different on this fight? Do you give more respect to Gorimbo than I do? I just did not like what I saw from the guy.
Yeah, see, the thing about Gorimbo is he's one of these guys that if you were to like look at his body, if you were to look at the record, not necessarily so much the competition, you'd be like, okay, we get it. He's a big dude. He's long for the weight class. He's 10-3, and he's got 7 finishes. So he's finishing fights, and a lot of them are by submission. So, you look at that and you're like, yeah, maybe he is ready, but then you go and you watch the tape, and this guy's losing all these fights up until the point that he wins them. He's a big-time minute loser. His striking doesn't look technical at all. It looks like he's just trying to take people's heads off hand. Excuse me, I got passionate there for a minute. And,
you're good.
So I'm still here having problems. Okay, so Themba is losing all these fights up until he wins them. He's locking up triangles after getting dominated. He's getting dropped. He's getting out wrestled. He's no good, man. Like, my voice right now and my ability to be able to articulate my thoughts, this guy's just no good. Help me out, Brady.
He's not good. He's terrible. Why are they bringing this dude in here? What are they doing? What are they doing?
I don't know what's happening here, man.
He's so bad that I'm in
tears.
That's how bad this guy is, man.
He's just not very good, dude.
Yeah.
I think AJ kills this guy. I'm sorry. My throat is, I don't know what happened, man.
He's so bad. He's so bad that he's killing Weezy. Weezy, take a minute. Take a minute. And I'll talk about some props here. So we have Fletcher as a pretty big favorite here. He opened up as, if I can find the dang fight here. So Fletcher opened up as a minus 160 fave. Woo, man, I would have smashed that minus 160. He's now minus 255. And Themba Gorimbo opened up plus 140. He's now plus 215. Yeah, I don't hate Fletcher as a parlay piece. Only slight concern would be the cardio. I don't think it's like the best cardio in the world, but I really don't think it matters. I kind of think he runs through Gorimbo and does it in the very first round, whether it's a knockout on the feet I think he has the advantage there. He has the power to do it. And then I think he has the wrestling to take the fight down to the mat. I think he has the ground and pound. I think he has the submission game. I really like Fletcher this week. I like him inside the distance. I don't mind him as a parlay piece. I already bet the under 2.5 rounds earlier in the week. I think violence is the answer. But more specifically, I think Fletcher is the answer on this one. So yeah, give me Fletcher. Have that under. And then I also, if I was to do a parlay this week, I think it'd be somebody in it. Weezy, how you feeling?
Yeah, I've got the exact same thoughts, Brady, in that I think Fletcher's like, I don't do parlays, but I'm looking for something around minus 250 to parlay Fletcher with, because I'm very confident in him this week. I think he punts this dude's head into the cheap seats, really. And I think he can out wrestle him too. I think any way he wants this fight, he's gonna wind up destroying this dude. But this guy Garimbo finds ways to win somehow. So I don't really know. I mean, if he might pull something off here, but I like the Fletcher inside the distance prop. I like the Fletcher money line, and I like the under 2.5.
Sounds good. Looks like we are on the same page with that one. No, easy.
Yeah.
So hopefully this next fight doesn't completely kill you. I don't think it will. I think this is actually a really good fight. We have Nazim.
Good one.
Oh yeah, Nazim Sadikov going against Evan Elder. We got Sadikov, 28 years old, 5'10" with a 69-inch reach. Elder, he is 25 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. We have Elder with a 3-inch reach advantage, same height there, and then Elder's also going to be 3 years younger. So Evan Elder is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut on short notice against Preston Parsons, lost that fight by decision. Showed a ton of toughness in that fight. He was in some very deep chokes, able to fight out of all of those, and ended up taking the fight to decision, which completely trashed my like under 2.5 bet. Nazim Sadikov, he is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He's training with Aljamain Sterling and those guys over there. Really good fighter, really well-rounded fighter. Solid wrestling and really good striking. Lots of tools on the feet. And yeah, I think for Evan Elder to have success in this fight, he's going to have to get takedowns. And what's interesting about Sadikov is when I watch a lot of this guy's fights, and in a lot of these fights, he's getting taken down pretty easily, and he's getting his back taken. He's getting himself into really bad positions. He is able to fight out of those, but that was one thing I really did notice there. Yeah, I like Sadikov here. We'll talk about the line in a little bit. He's like a slight favorite. I don't know if anything is really sticking out from a betting perspective, but I don't mind me some Sadikov. But I think Elder's going to give a much better account of himself than he did in his last fight. He took that fight on short notice, up a weight class. He's coming in here prepared, I believe a full camp. So I think we're going to see a much better version of Evan Elder. And I could see him having success here or there, but I think Sadikov has the more upside in this matchup. Weezy, what do you like here?
Yeah, when I taped this fight, I kind of came to the conclusion that these guys are very well matched. I definitely saw some soft spots in Sadikov's game. That first tape that you see of him is him getting his back taken and choked out. And then, like, some of these knockouts that he's getting when he's finishing fights, like, you don't really even see the strike that hurts the opponent. And then he pounces on them and he finishes fights. I mean, he seems to have a little bit of a death touch to him, does Sadikov. When he hits you just right, doesn't matter if it looks technical or not. Sometimes he lands heavy, and he's got some really nice kicks as well. But Elder, I see kind of Elder having the wrestling upside here. I see him kind of being the guy that could potentially win minutes on the ground and land some ground and pound and find ways, if he doesn't like how it's going on the feet, to find another way to win minutes here. He's strong. He's young as well. He's only 26. I mean, he's not even 26 yet. Good competition so far at the regional scene level for him, comparable to what I would say that Sadikov has faced. And Elder throws a lot of kicks on the feet too, goes to that body over and over and over again. He's mean. He hits hard. Both of these guys are finishing fights, but Sadikov's got a little bit better of a finish rate, but he has been finished in his only loss, while Elder, dude, this guy's tough, man. I mean, Preston Parsons had him in so many bad spots. He took that fight on short notice. He was much smaller than Preston and fought his way out of several bad spots. So, I mean, I kind of feel like this fight might go over, actually, because Elder is very durable, very tough. And because Sadikov, like the knockouts that he's gotten have just kind of like left me wanting more at this point. I don't exactly know what to think of him. I know he fights at a great camp, just like Elder does. I know that the kicks look very good for both fighters. I just think Elder might be a little more well-rounded at this point in his career, but it's going to remain to be seen because we haven't seen enough of each of these guys yet at the UFC level to really have a fully formed opinion out of either one of them. But if you put a gun to my head and said, you have to take a money line here, I'd be taking that plus money on the Elder side because I think he could potentially win minutes in the grappling exchanges here, while I do see it being very close on the feet.
Yep, Sadikov minus 162, Elder plus 142. And yeah, I think, like I said, I think Elder can definitely have some success here or there with the takedowns. We have seen Sadikov taken down quite a bit. We've seen his back taken quite a bit. We've seen him in really bad spots, and that does seriously concern me in this matchup. Yeah, don't really like anything on this fight. I'm going to pass from a money line standpoint. The fight goes minus 130. I just don't really want to get in the way of Evan Elder's durability, so I think I might pass there. Yeah, it's another fight I'm probably going to stay away from. Weezy, anything sticking out? You said you don't mind like the plus 142 on Evan Elder, plus 146 I see.
Yeah, not running to the window for it, obviously. But I mean, I've watched all the tape on both of these guys, and that's kind of the conclusion that I came to, that if after watching all the tape, I was kind of like, this is probably going to be minus 110 apiece. But Sadikov's got a little more upside from what people are seeing on tape. And Zubik Music was asking, what does the win percentage mean in control time ratio /win? What that means is we take the control time and the control time allowed, and then we take the control time and we divide it by the control time plus the control time allowed to show what percentage of control time positions that the fighter is in that they're winning. So if we're here for Evan Elder, in that one fight against Preston Parsons, he got 11.89% control time, but he allowed 52% control time to Parsons. So he only won 18.61% of the control time positions that he was in, and the ratio 20.23 is the ratio of time that he's spending in control time positions. So yeah, that's what those stats mean, to answer Zupik Music's question in the chat.
Sounds good to me. All right. Let us keep moving on, Weezy. We have a couple 1-800-GAMBLER fights on the card, and this will be the first of the couple. We have Ovince St. Preux going against Philipe Lins. We got St. Preux, 39 years old, about to be 40, 6'3" with an 80-inch reach. Philipe Lins, 37 years old, 6'2" with a 78-inch reach. OSP is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Had that split decision loss to Ben Rothwell, knockout win against Alonzo Menefield, knockout loss against Jamal Hill, Tanner Bozer, and then a split decision win against Shogun Hua. As far as Philipe Lins, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Andre Arlovsky, lost that fight by decision. He lost by knockout against Tanner Bozer, and then he gets a win against Marcin Prachnio. Yeah, Weezy. I mean, this is very, very bad. I brought up this analogy a couple of months ago, where that South Park episode, like you have a giant douche in a turd sandwich. You got to vote for one. I feel like in this situation, the giant douche is Philipe Lins and the turd sandwich is OSP. I mean, pick your poison. But with that said, one of these, this giant douche, he's like minus 220. Yeah. Philipe Lins is minus 220 against OSP. And I want to say I get it, but I really don't. Like they're both very, very bad. OSP's had a great career, but nowadays it just doesn't look like he wants to be there. It doesn't look like he wants to fight. That Shogun fight was bad. That was a bad fight. I was out with friends watching that fight, and we about fell asleep. I mean, that fight was terrible. And then you got Philipe Lins, who he beat Prachnio, but I mean that's Marcin Prachnio. I was considering like maybe a violence bet, but my concern with that is maybe they're both so bad at this point that neither guy can get a finish. My other concern is Philipe Lins was not able to finish a completely death-gassed chinny Marcin Prachnio, who gassed out in 6 minutes, and OSP was not able to finish a 50-year-old Shogun. I don't think I'm going to have any money on this fight, Weezy. As far as making a pick, because I have to, I'm kind of thinking it's Lins KO1, but I'm not laying minus 220 on him. Pass. Just a big pass here. Weezy, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts are pretty much the same as yours, that you'd have to have a screw loose to be betting on this fight. I mean, I get the idea that some people want to bet violence on this fight, but you're counting on Ovince St. Preux or Philipe Lins to get a finish. Felipe's 37.5. Ovince is going on 40. And neither one of these guys have looked like they've given a shit for a very long time. And then, even if you do put the bets in on this fight, what is it? 8 out of the last 11 scheduled fights for Philipe, or no, it's 10 out of 13. Yeah. 10 out of the last 13 fights that Felipe Lins was suggested to show up for didn't even happen. 10 of 13, and then you have the very likely possibility, Brady, that on Thursday, this fight is just canceled due to total lack of interest. That the UFC will just say, you know what, guys, we apologize. We're just going to make this a 10-fight card. Nobody cares about this fight. Literally nobody. Even Ovince's St. Preux family isn't even going to watch this one, I don't think. They're going to be like, it's his 43rd fight. We've seen enough of his fights. The Shogun fight almost got him disowned. It was so bad, dude. So I'm not betting on this. I'm not even going to tape it because I don't think either one of these guys cares. So why should I care? Exactly. Really, there's 10 other fights to bet on this card, and there's 10 other fights to watch on this card, and I just don't care about Ovince's St. Preux fights anymore. And to be fair, I never cared about Felipe Lins's. So where does that leave us?
I could not have said it better myself. I mean, man, we have Lins as a pretty big favorite. He's like minus 220. And then OSP is plus 185. The fight doesn't goes like minus 130. Yeah, I just don't see myself touching this one. Maybe like on DraftKings, I suppose. But even then, it's like,
God. You look at the distance striking numbers for these guys. 3.21 landed for Ovince St. Preux and 3.88 absorbed. For Lins, it's 3.81 landed and 4.25 absorbed. Those are low numbers. They're basically averaging about 8 strikes per minute offered per minute per distance minute. That's nothing. You got guys on this card that are at 15, 16. Parker Porter throws like 18 distance strikes per minute. Ovince St. Preux can't even be bothered to try 8. I can't believe this guy was a professional athlete. He was a high-level football player at Tennessee. It looks like I could outrun him. And I'm slow, Brady. I was like I'm slow, dude. Like even when I was an athlete and decent at sports, I was always the slowest guy on the team. And I think I could outrun Ovince St. Preux. I really do. You give me 3 days to kind of just work on some form, get the conditioning back to where it was maybe when I was 37, and I think I could take him in a race. Not in a fight. That would never happen. But in a race, I might even be able to make it happen, dude.
I think a snail could be OSP at this point. Right? Like, come on. It's bad, man. Someone in the chat said, who was it? Was it Vig? So Vig says OSP sub opened up at plus 2,000, which is interesting. Maybe he does take down Lins and get that Von flu, or maybe Lins is so bad that he's just gonna tap out for no reason. But yeah, plus 2,000 for OSP by sub. That's an interesting line, but it got smashed.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, dude. OSP is very tricky when he gets fights to the ground.
100%.
When he gets fights to the ground. But he's so lazy, dude. He's only attempted 50 takedowns in 25 fights, and he's only gotten 15 of them. He's so lazy.
Yeah, that plus 2,000 would have been like a max freaking bet like a couple years ago. That is crazy. But yeah, Weezy, this fight kind of sucks. I think we should move on to the next fight.
Yeah.
All right, next we have Jamal Emmers going against Khusein Askhabov. We got Emmers, 33 years old, 5'10" with a 74-inch reach. We got Askhabov, 27 years old, 5'8", not sure on the reach there. We have Askhabov, 6 years younger. It's going to be Jamal Emmers with a 2-inch height advantage. Jamal Emmers is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He had a decision loss in his debut against Giga Chikadze. Very close fight there. Could have went either way. A decision win against Vince Cachero, and then a submission loss to Pat Sabatini. As far as Askhabov, he is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. Obviously, he's undefeated, 23-0. So Askhabov has been out for some time. It's going to be about a 3-year layoff for him, and he's going to be coming up a weight class. He used to fight at bantamweight, but he does have some fights at featherweight. But the last time he did fight at featherweight was back in 2016. So he's going to come in here off of a layoff, up a weight class, and he's going to be undersized in this matchup. Yeah, I'll be honest. I guess maybe I went into tape maybe a little bit with a little bit too high standards, because you see the 23-0, right? And you're like, oh, this guy's going to be a beast. And after getting done with tape, I'm like just very underwhelmed. I thought the striking was very sloppy. The wrestling was very sloppy. He's dangerous, but he's not fighting the best competition in the world. I mean, these guys are getting taken down easily. And then I kind of dug into the matchup, or dug into like the level of competition a little bit. And it's honestly like some of the worst level of competition I've ever seen. And I was just trying to figure out what Askhabov's like best win was. And I'm just not sure what that is. I mean, the last guy he fought was 3-1, or he was 3-0. Askhabov beat him, and he hasn't fought since, and that was 3 years ago. So I'm just not sold on the level of competition. I like Emmers here. I bet Emmers at plus 130. He's now down to like plus 105. Some things that do concern me, though, is Askhabov's 28 years old. He's taking a 3-year layoff. He's training at a good gym, so you got to expect improvements, but I just haven't seen those improvements. And the other thing that concerns me is the fight IQ of Jamal Emmers. It's kind of funny, actually. In the Giga Chikadze fight, he was striking when he should be grappling, and then in the Pat Sabatini fight, he was grappling when he should be striking. So I thought that was pretty funny there. But yeah, the guy's fight IQ is not that great, but I'm not sure that's really going to matter here. Maybe he's going to make a mistake. I don't know, but in this matchup, I just feel like Jamal Emmers is the much better striker. It's not even close. I like Emmers' level of competition. He's fought the much better guys in and outside of the UFC. And quite frankly, I think if Jamal Emmers fought Askhabov's 23 fights, his same strength of schedule, I think Jamal Emmers would be 23-0. You know, Emmers has losses to Giga in a fight that he very well could have won, especially if he fought smarter. He lost to Pat Sabatini, who everybody was very high on before the Damon Jackson fight. I think it's a sneaky spot here for Jamal Emmers to pull off the upset against Askhabov, who I'm not completely sold on. But maybe Askhabov comes in here. He's made a ton of improvements. Maybe he goes out there and destroys Jamal Emmers, but Emmers on paper has a 100% takedown defense. He wrestled in high school. He wrestled in college. Takedown defense is on point. Wrestling's on point. Cardio's on point. Striking's on point. Everything's on point besides one thing, Weezy, and that's fight IQ. So I can't go too heavy on it, but I did put half a unit on Jamal Emmers at plus 130. I can't go any more than half a unit just because this guy, he does make a ton of dumb mistakes. But I think he goes out here and beats Askhabov. I think Askhabov loses his debut. And I think we're going to learn a lot about this guy because I know nothing about him. I mean, going out there and beating bums just tells me nothing. Whereas Emmers, he's beat Corey Sandhagen in LFA. He's beat Alexander Hernandez. He arguably could have beat Giga Chikadze, and he's losing to very good guys. So, Weezy, what's sticking out to you in this fight here?
Yeah, what's sticking out is just throw out the record on this Askhabov and just watch the tape on him. He's an okay striker. He spams kicks from distance, a lot of wild shit. Doesn't look particularly gifted as a kickboxer. His wrestling is solid, but it's not like Khabib solid. You know what I'm saying? Like he gets takedowns, but you also see him getting taken down every once in a while. You see him getting reversed every once in a while, but he is pretty slick with his submissions. And there's one thing that's kind of sticking out like a sore thumb in this fight is that I've seen Askhabov go for 2 heel hooks, and he finished them immediately. And Jamal Emmers just had his knee completely torn up by a heel hook by Pat Sabatini. And this fight's going to the ground. And I think if Askhabov gets anywhere near Emmers' leg, that he's going to finish the fight. And I think that Emmers might tap even before he's in trouble, because he can't afford getting his knee torn up again. This guy Emmers is he's such a great talent. He's so well-rounded. He's got everything that you want from a mixed martial artist besides the decision-making in the cage, you know? Going for a toe hold against Pat Sabatini, you know? And he dropped Sabatini. He was on top. He was working him. And Sabatini started going for that leg lock, not to finish the fight, to get a sweeper to stand back up. And what does Emmers do? He grabs Sabatini's foot and starts going for a foot lock. It's not even something that you're going to damage the guy's foot to the point where he'll have to tap. But you're in a knee bar. You're in a heel hook. This is not a time to start playing footsie with a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt that you just dropped 10 seconds into the fight with a straight right hand. I can't put money on Emmers. I think Askhabov is going to win this fight, just because I think that he'll find a way to get the grappling exchanges into his favor, threaten with submissions, win minutes on the ground. But that being said, I think Emmers is the better striker. He's bigger. He's definitely more experienced and has fought. I mean, there's 10 guys on Jamal Emmers' record that would probably be also 23-0 against Askhabov's opponents. Corey Sandhagen, Thiago Moises, Giga Chikadze. You go through this guy's, he's got to win over Corey Sandhagen. He went over 3 rounds with, I think he got finished in the 4th or 5th round by Thiago Moises, who's a 155er. This guy fought Julian Erosa. He's been in there with everybody. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Emmers did enough to win this fight, but his only UFC win is over Vince Cachero, who also is a guy who took the fight on short notice up a weight class. And he didn't even look that great in that fight. So I'm really worried about Emmers' ability to put it all together at this level. And now he's 33 and a half, coming off a major knee reconstruction, coming off a knee surgery here, going up against a guy that I've seen tear 2 people up with heel hooks before. Man, I think Askhabov is going to get the win here.
Interesting. It could happen, man. But yeah, I gotta bet Emmers. I just think he's better everywhere, man.
He is. You're right about that. He is better everywhere.
Better everywhere, better competition. But the one knock is that decision making. So maybe he does get himself heel hooked again. If it does happen, so be it. But give me the plus money Emmers. I actually think the line might flip. Like Emmers is only plus 102 on Bet Online, which, by the way, Emmers opened up a plus 200. So the line's been coming down throughout the week. I think people are starting to watch tape on this guy, dig into the record, and see that, oh my God, he's not fought anybody. So, yeah, it should be a fun fight, but I'm pretty confident in Jamal Emmers. And I did pose the question on Twitter, Weezy. I asked if Jamal Emmers is a bum. And to be honest, I was kind of shocked with some of the responses. A lot of people are very low on Jamal Emmers. I think I saw at least 10 people call Jamal Emmers a bum.
Wow.
So he's a bum because he lost to Pat Sabatini and Giga Chikadze, who people really like. So we're gonna find out if Emmers is a bum come Saturday. But yeah, we're gonna see, man. We're gonna see. All right. Let us move on to the next fight. We have, speaking of bum, we have Lina Länsberg going against Mauro Bueno Silva. We got Mauro Bueno Silva, 31 years old, 5'6" with a 66-inch reach. Lina Länsberg, 40 years old, 5'7" with a 65-inch reach. Silva, 9 years younger. It's going to be Silva with a 1-inch reach disadvantage and a 1-inch height disadvantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. Lina Länsberg is 2-3 in her last 5 fights. A decision win against Tanya Evinger, a decision win against Justin Bieber, a decision loss to Sarah McMahon, a decision loss to Panda Kianzad, and then a decision loss to Carol Hosa. As far as Mauro Bueno Silva, she is 3-1-1 draw in her last 5 fights. She had a armbar win against Romero Barella, a draw against Montana De La Rosa, a decision loss to Manon Fioro, a decision win against Yanan Wu, and then a submission win against Stephanie Egger by armbar. Yeah, we have Silva as, I believe, the biggest favorite on the card, and money's continuing to pour in on her. And I would caution anybody laying minus 400, minus 500 on Silva this week. I think she has a good skill set. Like, she's an incredible grappler. Like, her grappling is my favorite part of her game. It's just she doesn't use it. Well, she uses it, but she uses it when somebody takes her down. She's not going out there and actively trying to get the fight down to the mat. She's completed a massive 0 takedowns in 8 UFC fights, including Contender Series, and she's only attempted 1 takedown in 8 fights, including Contender Series. That's a big red flag to me. So if people are expecting Silva to come out here and grapple, I wouldn't do that, but I do expect her to come forward, strike with Länsberg. She's going to be the much younger fighter here. I got to pick Silva, but to be honest, I was quite shocked at the line. I was expecting, maybe like a minus 250 Silva. But then I'm seeing like a minus 400, a minus like 475 now, Mauro Bueno Silva. Yeah, I would never do that. I would never lay minus 475 on somebody who's literally not going to go to her strongest, the strongest part of her game, and that's the grappling. If she was to go out there and wrestle, and I knew for a fact that she was going to wrestle, get the fight down to the mat, I'd have a lot more confidence in her, but I just don't have any confidence she's going to do that. So the pick Silva, but I do not want to put any money on this fight, but I do have the over, which we'll talk about that, Weezy. But yeah, the pick for me is Silva, but I'm not laying this price tag.
Yeah, so, when I looked at this fight, I thought it was a very interesting stylistic matchup because, the last two fights we've seen Lina Länsberg come out and look really good with her striking. She's landed a knockdown in her last two fights against Pani Kianzad and against Carol Hossa. And both of those ladies had to, rely on the wrestling in order to beat Lina Länsberg. And like you said, Mayra Bueno Silva, even if Mayra wanted to come out there and wrestle, I promise you she can't. She can't wrestle. If she could wrestle, she would have fucking done it by now. She can't. She's attempted one takedown in 7 UFC fights in almost 70 minutes in the cage. She's attempted one, and she didn't even get it. Here's a sick stat for you, Brady. Mayra Bueno Silva gets 4.27% control time, and she allows 37%, which means that she's winning a whopping 10% of the control time exchanges that she's been in. And Lina Länsberg hasn't been much better. I promise you that. Lina Länsberg, she controls her opponents 28% of the time, but Lina gets controlled 46% of the time. So Lina's winning about 37% of the control time positions that she's in. But I broke down Lina Länsberg's wins and losses and what the control time situations in Lina Länsberg's wins are versus her losses. So let's start with the losses, right? When Lina loses, she's getting 11.4% control time, and she's allowing 62.2% control time. So when Lina loses fights, she's getting out wrestled, she's getting out grappled, and she's getting controlled on the ground. When Lina wins fights, she's controlling her opponents 48.67% of the time, and she's getting controlled 26% of the time. In her wins, she's got 5 takedowns, and she's only given up 3. In her losses, she's gotten 0 takedowns, and she's given up 15. So how are these ladies beating Lina Länsberg? They're controlling her for 62% of all of her losses. Mayra Bueno Silva couldn't take down a 10-pound bag of potatoes. She couldn't even manage that. She's losing 90% of the control time position. So when I see the most likely path to victory against a particular opponent being unavailable to the favorite, that makes me really scared to bet the favorite. And as a matter of fact, most times I'll just blindly bet the underdog because I'll say, if this is a striker versus striker matchup, if this were a kickboxing match, do you fucking think that Mayra Bueno Silva would even be minus 200? A woman who at distance is attempting 11 strikes per minute and her opponents are attempting 18.3? I mean, think about that. It's not like Lina's numbers at distance are great either. She gets out-volumed. She gets outlanded. But look who she's fighting. She's fighting the better strikers here. She's fought 10 UFC fights while Mayra's only fought 7. At least Lina has power. Lina's got 3 knockdowns. Mayra Bueno Silva has 0 knockdowns. And Mayra Bueno Silva gets controlled a lot in the clinch. And that's one place where Lina Länsberg wins a ton of minutes at the UFC level, is in the clinch. So if Lina fights smart and maintains distance and then tries to win some minutes in the clinch here, I think that this fight's going to look a lot closer to minus 150 Silva, plus 120 Lina Länsberg. So I've got a 1-unit bet on the Lina Länsberg money line at plus 320.
Yep, and I don't hate you for that shot, and nobody should, Weezy. But yeah, I caution anybody going out there and parlaying up Mayra Bueno Silva. I think you'll be disappointed. I think you'll be disappointed, win or lose. She probably does win the fight, right? But I think you'll be very disappointed going out there and laying minus 425 on Mayra Bueno Silva. I see Lina Länsberg plus 325. She's plus 370 on DraftKings, which is very, very interesting. I'm curious to see how wide this line gets. I wasn't really expecting to get it any wider than that, but we'll have to see. So Weezy, we are both on the over. You gave me a call. I love getting a call from Uncle Weezy. I was doing a video, and then right after the video, I got a call, and he's like, "Dude, where the hell are you?" And I know exactly what that means. This is so weird to me. So I was checking the lines during the day, and I saw that the over 2.5 rounds opened up at -250 in the Länsberg Silva fight. I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And then I look again, and I see that it went to like -147, and I'm like, what's going on here? And then I do my video, and then I get a call from Uncle Weezy, and he's like, dude, the over 2.5 is at -110, and I'm like, what sense does that make? So I was able to get down a unit on that. Just -110 just makes no sense. It's now back down to -150. I think it should be like close to like -2. I kind of agree with like the opener, like the -250. Like Lina Länsberg, she's never been submitted. I don't really see Lina Länsberg going for takedowns here. It just wouldn't make any sense to me. Länsberg's been knocked out 3 times, but she hasn't been knocked out in a long time. Like the last time that Lina Länsberg was knocked out was back in, I don't know, was it 2017 maybe against Aspen Ladd?
On the ground, too.
Yeah, on the ground. And then she also got knocked out by Chris Cyborg back in 2016. So
up at 140 for that fight, too, on short notice, you know?
Yeah, and Mayra Bueno Silva, she hasn't knocked out anybody in the UFC. It's all submission, and more specifically, it's all by armbar. And I just don't think Lina Länsberg goes for takedowns. And even if she does, like I said, she's never been sub. So it just doesn't make sense to me how to pick them. Even at -150, it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Weezy, any thoughts on the over? I know you're a lot heavier on it than I am, but I do like the spot.
Yeah, so I've got 2.5 units on it at -110, but even at -150, Brady, right? Lina Länsberg, when her fights have been scheduled for 3 rounds at the UFC level, 8 of those 9 fights have went over 2.5 rounds. And for Mayra Bueno Silva, it's 4 of 7. So you add that up. 12 of 16, or 75% of their combined UFC fights have went over 2.5 rounds. And the implied probability of the line is only 60%. And in addition to that, 70% of women's 135-pound fights go over 2.5 rounds. So it's a 10% break over the benchmark of the division. It's a 15% break over the combined, when you take the combined performance of over 2.5, it's 75%, and subtract the 60% implied probability of the line. And these ladies go over 2.5 rounds at a 5.19% greater than what the division does. So that's what we call a trifecta bet on the prop template. And it's very rare that you get these trifecta bets adding up in this kind of a sample size to more than a 30% edge over the books. And that's at -150. We got this thing at -110 earlier in the week. So love the over here. It makes a lot of sense. Could Mayra Bueno Silva get an armbar? Of course, you know. But is she knocking out Lina Länsberg on the feet? No. Is Lina Länsberg knocking out Mayra Bueno Silva? I mean, if Manon Fiorot couldn't, I don't think Lina's knocking her out. So I think this one goes the distance.
Yeah, I think it goes the distance unless Länsberg goes for takedowns here, which I wouldn't think that makes sense. Maybe she tries to test her luck on the mat against Silva, or Silva decides to wrestle for the first time, which I don't think so. So yeah, I'm with you on the over. I never bet overs, but that was one at a pick. It just made too much sense there.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's an interesting fight. I don't know why I got 3.5 units on it, but it's just how the chips fall when the lines don't make any sense. Like +320 Lina Länsberg, like -110 for an over 2.5 in a women's bantamweight fight. You got to hit it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a unit on it, and I feel like that's too much, but I do like the spot quite a bit. All right, let us move on to the next fight. We got Jim Miller going against Alexander Hernandez. We got Jim Miller, 39 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach. Hernandez, 30 years old, 5'9" with a 72-inch reach. We have Hernandez 9 years younger with a 1-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. Jim Miller is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, a decision loss to Vince Pichel, a decision loss to Joe Selecki, a knockout win against Eric Gonzalez, Nicholas Mota, and then a submission win against Donald Cerrone. Alexander Hernandez, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights, a knockout win against Chris Grutzmacher, a decision loss to Thiago Moises, a knockout win against Mike Breeden, a submission loss to Renato Moicano, and a knockout loss to Billy Quarantillo. So yeah, I saw the line opened up, and I was actually shocked at where it opened until I ran the tape, and I feel like I get why Alexander Hernandez is the favorite. I won't be laying chalk on this dude, but I see why people are laying chalk on the guy. I see why the line is getting wider and wider. I think he has a clear path to victory here. I think one interesting talking point, a very important talking point, is the level of competition between the two guys as of late. Like, Jim Miller is looking phenomenal as of late, but he's looking phenomenal against a debuting Eric Gonzalez. He's looking phenomenal against a debuting Nicholas Mota, and then he's looking phenomenal against a retiring Donald Cerrone. So yeah, 3 in a row, but I'm not completely sold on those wins. Whereas Hernandez, yes, he's lost 2 in a row, but he lost to Billy Quarantillo, terrible matchup for him, and then also Renato Moicano, terrible matchup for him. So I feel like Alexander Hernandez has all the tools to win this fight. It's just, can his cardio hold up for 3 rounds is kind of the big question. I feel like this fight could very well look a lot like the Hernandez OAM fight, where Hernandez was able to take down OAM, control him a lot in that fight. We saw Jim Miller taken down and controlled by both Joe Selecki and Vince Pichel. Jim Miller, like, less than a 50% takedown defense, content to play off his back. So I feel like Hernandez can mix in takedowns here. I feel like Hernandez is the better striker as well, more volume, lots of power. But I mean, trusting Alexander Hernandez at minus 200 something is just not something I want to do. This is another big pass for me. I don't even have a lean in terms of like a prop. I could see this fight going to decision, with Hernandez grinding it out. I could see a Hernandez potential early knockout. I could see a Jim Miller late knockout, early knockout. It's just a fight I could see going so many different ways where I just want to pass. Weezy, any hot takes on this one?
Not really hot takes, man. I mean, when I look at the distance striking numbers here, it looks like that they're a little bit better for Hernandez. Hernandez throws more than his opponents, while Miller actually gets outthrown. They both get outlanded at distance by their opponents, but the defense is a tick better for Miller. But the power is a tick better or not a tick better, a lot better for Anthony Hernandez. So I think Anthony's going to be a lot more dangerous on the feet here. We know how dangerous of a submission grappler Jim Miller is, but is he anymore? That's the question, because his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was good enough to submit a bunch of guys back in 2013 when the sport was entirely different. What is it now? Are we going to see him arm barring Alexander Hernandez from guard? Probably not, So I feel like Hernandez is going to have the wrestling upside here. He gets more takedowns per 15. He averages more takedown attempts per 15, which I think is very important. His takedown defense is a little bit better, and Jim Miller has only shown 51% takedown defense over the fights that I have here. So these stats that you see on the screen right now for Jim Miller are not his entire UFC stats. For instance, you'll see the UFC record here showing at 13-13 for Jim Miller. Jim Miller's got 40 UFC fights, but like 14 of them happened before the year 2013. So I'm not even keeping those stats anymore because they really don't have anything to do with modern MMA, the modern UFC. And I think it's best to just throw away some of those, who gives a shit what Jim Miller did in 2006? It's not relevant here in 2023. So these stats are a little bit pared down for Miller. We're only showing 26 of his UFC fights from 2013 on. But I think Hernandez should be the better wrestler. I think he'll be more powerful on the feet. He's certainly a lot younger. He's almost 10 years younger here. And he's got the 1-inch reach advantage, the 1-inch height advantage. So, I got to go with Hernandez as well here. But, Jim Miller could surprise some people. And he's been kind of standing in the pocket and throwing, kind of like dragging people into wars. And I think it's when Jim Miller gets into those wars that opportunistic nature of his submission game really comes out and shows itself. So many of these Jim Miller submissions, Brady, it's not because like he shoots like this beautiful blast double, then he passes to half guard, then he passes to side control, he mounts you, he gets to your back. No, it's like somebody lands a big shot, there's a scramble, and then Miller locks something up in the midst of that scramble, and it's quick. He's not like this great functional wrestler to control time to submission grappler. He's really a brawler who can find submissions in these moments where there are scrambles where he can just, let that experience take over and make the right decision at the right time. So, Jim Miller's always live to do something like that. And if him as a southpaw gives Hernandez any trouble, that could be another possible angle as to why Hernandez might not be able to pull this off. But I'm on the Hernandez side here, but I am not laying that kind of juice on him. No, not on short notice, not on the quick turnaround, none of that stuff. He got his ass kicked by Quarantillo just not too long ago.
Yeah, I mean, no shame in the Quarantillo fight, but yeah, that wasn't too long ago, was it? A lot of people liking the violence in the chat. The fight doesn't go to decisions, minus 230. I'm good on that. Any thoughts on any props here?
No, man, I'm not touching them, dude. I mean, when I looked at the prop template, nothing really jumped out. Everything looked pretty fairly priced to me. And I could see it going a number of different ways as well. My read is usually what I rely on when the thing is priced fairly. And if my reads kind of tell me it could go either way, that's when I just say, all right, it's a very easy pass for me. And it's a pass pretty much on all angles as of right now.
Yeah, just nothing sticking out at all. All right, let's keep moving on to another 1-800-GAMBLER fight. We have William Knight versus Marcin Prachnio. We got William Knight, 34 years old, 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. Prachnio, 34 years old, 6'3" with a 74-inch reach. We have Prachnio with a 5-inch height advantage and a 1-inch reach advantage. William Knight is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. A decision loss against Da Un Jung, a knockout win against Fabio Charant, a decision win against Alonzo Menafield, a decision loss against Maxime Grishin, a knockout loss to Devin Clark. Marcin Prachnio, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights, a knockout loss against Magomed Ankalaev, a knockout loss to Mike Rodriguez, a decision win against Khalil Roundtree, a knockout win against Ike Villanueva, and then a decision loss to Philipe Lins. Yeah, it's about a pick 'em. I think it's about a pick 'em for a good reason. I think there's paths to both guys. I think Prachnio is a much better technical striker, a lot more tools on the feet. William Knight sports like a 32% striking defense, very hittable. I question both guys, their durability. I mean, getting knocked out by Devin Clark, and don't get me wrong, I think Devin Clark's a solid fighter, but Devin Clark's not knocking out anybody. That was Devin Clark's first finish in the UFC, and Devin Clark has a ton of UFC fights. So getting knocked out by Devin Clark's not a good look. Marcin Prachnio, as we know, one of the most chinny fighters in the UFC. He's been knocked out 4 times in his career, all 4 of those coming in the first round. Instead of picking a side here, I'm going violence. I think both guys are alive to knock out either guy. I think both guys are hittable. I think both guys have no durability. I think William Knight can mix in some takedowns here, get on top of Prachnio, potentially finish him there. I think both guys, their cardio is not great, especially Prachnio. I mean, Prachnio completely gassed out in like 6 minutes against Philipe Lins. He was dead in the water, but luckily he was fighting Philipe Lins and was able to go the full 15. I think William Knight, I don't think his cardio is amazing, but he does have solid cardio. I kind of lean Knight just because of the wrestling upside if he does choose to use it, because of the power. But I think somebody's probably getting served here. But I'm going to take Knight KO too, but I did bet the under at minus 125 because I saw on Bet Online they had like the fight doesn't go like minus 230, so it didn't make too much sense to me. So I'm on the under 2.5 minus 125 on DraftKings. I'm not sure if it's still there, but I think somebody's getting knocked out one way or another. Weezy, this is a fight that is going to happen on Saturday.
It sure is, and I mean, just when I thought I knew exactly who Marcin Prachnio was, I mean, like one of the funniest things ever, Brady, was Prachnio coming in. He gets slept by Sam Alvey. He gets slept by Magomed Ankalaev. He gets slept by Mike Rodriguez, slow Mike Rodriguez. And then what do, Brady? They put him in the cage with Khalil Roundtree, right? And there's not a person with like an IQ above 70 that wasn't coming to the conclusion that Roundtree was going to punt this dude's head into the upper deck. And why wouldn't they have that? And then all of a sudden, he blows it. Roundtree blows it. Marcin Prachnio gets a win over Khalil Roundtree in Abu Dhabi, after putting up 3 straight first-round knockout losses. And then he beats Ike Villanueva, which wasn't much of a surprise. And Lins is out. He's unloading on Prachnio, and Prachnio's chin all of a sudden is holding up. So what's going on? I mean, sometimes when you see things happen and you're like, this just makes no sense, how did this happen? You just kind of say, fuck, man, I don't know if I want to bet on this dude's fights. And then, like William Knight, before the Da Jung fight, he was going out there and wrestling people and showing cardio, and they'd be able to push a wrestling heavy game plan despite the fact that he's all bricked up with muscle. And then he goes out there and he gets like absolutely thrown around by Da Jung with the same throw 8 times over and over and over again. And then I was like, all right, I don't think I know what the hell is going on with William Knight now, because I thought he could wrestle, but clearly he can't. And we haven't seen him wrestle much since. You know, he got the win over Charant. I don't think that really means anything. He won a unanimous decision against Alonzo Menafield that, I mean, I think everybody thought he lost that fight. Yeah, and then he lost to Grishin predictably. But, you know, he showed up 13 pounds overweight for that weigh-in. Weighed in at 218 for a 205-pound fight or something like that. And then Grishin wound up taking the fight anyway. And then he gets knocked out by Devin Clark. So I don't know where William Knight is, dude. I can't, like, even if I thought that Prachnio now was going to go back to having the chin he had when he first came to the UFC, when he got stuffed in the first round 3 times in a row, I don't even know if I could count on William Knight to find it, because I don't know where this guy's at. He's missing weight. He's moving up to heavyweight, getting slept by Devin Clark, who's got it. That's his only finish win at the UFC level. A guy who's got like 8 wins now in the UFC, and one of them is a finish, and it was at heavyweight against William Knight. So you look at these guys' strength of schedule, it's not great. I mean, these guys' wins are not impressive at all. Like Villanueva, the Khalil Roundtree win looked like Roundtree, like somebody drugged him. I don't know what happened to Roundtree that day. And then, yeah, Charant, and then a fake Menafield win for William Knight. So, boy, I just don't know what to think here. I mean, I guess William Knight's got more ways to win this fight. I think he's more powerful on the feet. I think he could win minutes with the grappling exchanges, potentially get a submission or a back take on the ground. And then with that muscle on top of you, you're probably not getting up. So I guess I'm picking Knight, but am I betting this fight? Oh, God, no, I can't do it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Knight's actually the favorite now. He opened up -110. He's taking some steam. People taking shots on Knight. He's now -120. Prachnio +100. Yeah, I'm on the under 2.5. I honestly consider like the under 1.5. I think 59% of these guys' wins or fights as a whole have finished under 1.5 rounds, and that's sitting at +150. But I did take the extra round there just in case. But yeah, I'm on the under. I think that's moved a little bit. It's now like -140 though on DraftKings. But yeah, it's violence or pass for me. I would not touch a money line. I would not trust either of these fighters. These are 2 guys that I've been just super low on forever. I've never been a fan of William Knight, and I've definitely never been a fan of Marcin Prachnio. So yeah, just a big pass from a money line perspective, especially.
And check this one out, Brady. Here's a good look. Prachnio decision only, I think might be worth a look here, and here's why. If this fight stays at distance, you know, Prachnio is going to have the longer reach here, and I think he's got the much longer arms. He's the way better and more technical kickboxer. Like a guy like William Knight, who's so bricked up with muscle, sometimes those reach numbers are deceptive because so much of it is between those giant shoulders, which does you no good in striking. It's only the length of your arms. So I think Prachnio is going to be the much more technical striker here. He doesn't really finish at this level. And if you look at the distance striking numbers here on the screen, Prachnio at distance is landing 6.35 and absorbing only 4.3. And William Knight at distance is landing 3.3 but absorbing over 5. So one of these 2 guys is clearly the better minute winner, the more technical kickboxer, throws more volume, and has the ability to be able to outpoint their opponents. And that's Marcin Prachnio.
Yeah, and he's definitely the better striker. The only thing that would concern me about that is if William Knight did wrestle, which I don't know. This fight's a mess. I think we should just move on.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. We'll move on to the next fight. Oh my gosh. I thought it might get better, Weezy, but it actually got worse. We have Jamal Pogues going against Josh Parisian. We got Josh Parisian, 33 years old, 6'4" with a 79-inch reach. Pogues, 27 years old, 6'3" with a 77-inch reach. We got Pogues 6 years younger. It's going to be Parisian with a 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. Josh Parisian is 3-2 in his last 5 fights, had a knockout win on the Contender Series against Chad Johnson, decision loss to Parker Porter, a decision win against Roy Martinez, knockout win against knockout loss against Dontel Mays, a knockout win against Alain Badeau. Jamal Pogues is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, had a decision win, had 2 decision wins on the Contender Series, one at light heavyweight and then one at heavyweight his last time out. Jamal Pogues has fought the majority of his career at light heavyweight, and I went and watched tape on pretty much every fight I could. And, I actually like this guy's wrestling at light heavyweight, but he did come on the Contender Series at heavyweight, and he attempted 0 takedowns, which concerns me a little bit. If Jamal Pogues comes in here and attempts 0 takedowns, this fight's going to probably look like a pick'em. But if Jamal Pogues comes in here and does use that wrestling, I think he has a huge path to victory. I think that's what people are looking at, why this line's getting completely steamed in favor of Jamal Pogues. But is that wrestling going to be able to translate up at heavyweight against a Josh Parisian who's 6'4", probably weighing in at like 265, cutting down to 265 even? So this is a big giant pass. I like no side. I like no props. I probably won't even watch this fight. This is awful. As far as a pick, I gotta go Pogues because I think he has the path to victory, and that's the wrestling. The Dontel Mays fight is a atrocious look for Josh Parisian. Made Dontel Mays look like Curtis Blades out there, and if Dontel Mays is looking like Curtis Blades, I think Jamal Pogues has the path. But just not convinced he'll take it. Like maybe he went out there on the Contender Series trying to put on a show or whatnot because he didn't get the contract the first time when he did wrestle. Maybe that's the case, but Jamal Pogues better come in here and wrestle. If not, he's not going to look minus 240. So terrible fight, Weezy. Another fight I'm passing on. Any thoughts on this one?
So I'm really high on Jamal Pogues.
Really?
I think that there's an absolute ton of upside for this kid fighting in the heavyweight division. There's a lot of things that are going for Jamal Pogues right now. First of all, Brady, kid's only 27 years old. Okay, very young for a heavyweight. Second of all, he's got a 6-year and 6-month pro career, which means that he took his first pro fight at the age of 20. And he's 9-3 as a pro, and he's fought some really good competition already some at heavyweight, but most of it at light heavyweight. In addition to that, fast hands, good boxer, stays behind a great jab, great straight right. The conditioning seems to be good. Seems to be very good, as a matter of fact, as he's been in a lot of high-paced fights at 205 where I really didn't see him gassing out in really taxing fights. In addition to that, he had an amateur career, which he was fighting at the age of 17, 18, and 19, Brady. 2 wins over one of the best fighters on the face of the planet, Jared Vandera, in the amateur ranks. You heard me right. 2, not 1 win, 2 wins over the great Jared Vandera as an amateur in addition to that. Jamal can wrestle. Jamal's got really good boxing. Jamal's a decent athlete for the weight class, which means that he's got more going for him at the age of 27 than a lot of these guys. I mean, like the heavyweight weight class is chock full of guys like Josh Parisian, guys who don't do anything well, really, that they're 33 years old. They're not very athletic, but here they are with 4 UFC fights, 20 pro fights, and a 15-5 record, right? But what is Parisian good at? He's got a nasty spinning fat kick. Nobody's going to take that away from him ever, Brady. And we all know that when it comes to the spinning fat kick, it's Parisian, it's Barnett, and there's nobody else that can even come close to their technique and spectacularity on that particular technique, right? But, Parisian's a black belt, but he's gotten 4 takedowns on 13 attempts in 4 fights. He's getting out-controlled 42.75% to 16%. So he's losing almost 75% of the control time positions that he's in. Now, a guy like Pogues, who can win minutes at distance, who can win minutes up against the cage, who can wrestle, and he's only 27 years old. And dude, I think Jamal Pogues might actually be fighting for a title 5 years from now, just because of the skill set that he has. You look at all the heavyweight champions, most of them are only good at 2 or 3 things, and that's enough. Cain Velasquez was a good kickboxer with great wrestling and great cardio, but extremely undersized. Stipe Miocic, really good wrestling, really good boxing, good conditioning, not much else, right? The heavyweight weight class is chock full of guys that aren't good at anything. And this guy Pogues is good at a bunch of shit. So I kind of see why the line is where it is. I think Pogues is for real. I think he absolutely should be a favorite here. But when I look at this fight stylistically, I think you need to pressure Parisian in order to make him uncomfortable in the striking exchanges. And I don't see pressure out of Pogues. He's too confident in his boxing. He's too confident in his range management. So if he doesn't pressure Parisian, I think it's going to be a very close fight on the feet. And I think that Pogues is going to have problems taking down a giant human being in Parisian. So I think that this fight actually plays out a little bit closer than what the line says it is. But at the same time, I think that, Jamal Pogues is just head and shoulders the better mixed martial artist everywhere in this fight.
Yeah, I mean, the problem I'm having is just he only has 2 fights at heavyweight in his 12 professional fights.
I know.
I mean, I don't.
You see Dante O'Mays destroying Josh Parisian, but Mays is 6'6", and he's 265, and there's no fat on him. Like a guy like Pogues, he's making 205. So yeah, I mean, we've got to see. It's a show me spot for Pogues, but Pogues has all the tools, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, he does. I'm not even convinced he's a heavyweight. Like, he showed up on the Contenders. He looked in horrible shape.
I know.
I kind of want to see him on the scale. Maybe I would like to see him like put on more muscle. Because he looked like he just got up off the couch. Like, I remember taping that fight for Contender Series and being super high on this guy, and then he showed up at weigh-ins, and everybody was starting to bet the other side because he looked awful. So I do want to see this guy at weigh-ins, but I'm like I said, I'm not betting the fight anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Pogues, pretty big favorite. He's like minus 240. Josh Parisian plus 205. Pogues open up minus 170. So yeah, some money coming in on him. It's hard to pick Josh Parisian in a fight, period. Period. Especially after watching that Dante Mays fight. So I like Pogues.
And the Roque fight.
Every fight. Every fight. The pick for me is Pogues. No props really sticking out. I could see it going to decision. I could see it finishing, so on and so forth. But Pogues is for sure the pick. I can't pick Josh Parisian.
Yeah, I'm picking Pogues too. And like I say, it doesn't really mean much when I say that I think he could fight for a title in 5 years, because, you look at some of the guys that have gotten title shots at the heavyweight and weight class. Derek Lewis got one. Derek Lewis is a terrible fucking fighter who's got one thing, power. And he's still, he with that one thing, he's racked up more knockouts than anybody in the history of the promotion in any weight class. And Derek Lewis sucks at MMA. He sucks at MMA. And if anyone wants to argue with me about that, please, let's talk about it, right? And I mean, it's not controversial to say the guy sucks at MMA, but he hits like a truck. And if he clips you, you're going down. You're sleeping. But at heavyweight, dude, when you've got more paths to victory and you fight smart, now Jamal's got to still put it all together. He's going to need the coaching. He's going to need the training partners. He's going to need the game plans in order to make this work, in order to take advantage of all the areas of his skill set where he could possibly be better than his opponent. So, yeah, I'm interested. I can't wait to see Pogues, because I think that this guy's got a really high ceiling.
All right, yeah, you're a lot higher on the guy than I am, so we'll see if he can go out there and put on a good show. Hopefully, he has a better performance than he did last time out on the Contenders here. I mean, he won the fight, but yeah, it was kind of close, honestly. He got outstruck in that fight, but yeah, he should be Josh Parisian. All right, let us move on to the co-main event. We have Jordan Wright going against Zach Pauga. We got Pauga, 34 years old, 6'2" with a 76-inch reach. Jordan Wright, 6'2". This card's making me sick. This card's making me sick. What is this? Jordan Wright's in a co-main event? I can't
Zach
believe
Pauga, a guy who's 34 years old, going on 35, with 6 professional fights to his name.
Co-main event.
Former NFL football player, running back. Can you imagine the amount of wear and tear that there's got to be on this kid's body right now at 35 years old?
It's terrible. There's a bunch of wear and tear on me right now, breaking down some of these fights. But man, anyway, we got Jordan Wright. He's 3 years younger. He's gonna have a 1-inch height advantage. Zach Pauga, he is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Made his debut against Muhammad Usman. Looked on Ultimate Fighter finale. Looked really good in that fight. He was out striking Muhammad Usman pretty cleanly. I think he was out landing him like 32-12. And on the 12th strike that Muhammad Usman landed, completely deaded the guy. Looked like it barely landed, but he placed it so perfectly. He was able to put Zach Pauga out. Jordan Wright, like 1-4 in his last 5 fights. Knockout loss to Buckley. Knockout win against Jamie Pickett. Bruno Silva knockout loss. Marc-Andre Barrios submission loss. Dusko Todorovic knockout loss. Yeah, so I was just on with Clint, and Clint was telling me about the Jordan Wright interview, and you can't always take account to these interviews, but what Clint was talking about, Jordan Wright saying that he's doing a lot of work with this wrestler, and he's been working on a lot of his wrestling. And if Jordan Wright comes in here and wrestles, I think that would be the worst possible decision he could ever make. I mean, he's going out there, he's trying to turn into a wrestler. And how's that working out for him? It's not. He went out there, tried to wrestle Marc-Andre Barrio, he got guillotined. Went out there, tried to take down black belt Dusko Todorovic. He gassed out in 6 minutes, got finished in that second round. Why on earth would Jordan Wright, coming up a weight class to light heavyweight, go in there and try to take down Zach Pauga, whose main training partner is Curtis Blades, who he's working with every single day? If Jordan Wright goes in there and wrestles, he's an idiot. He's an idiot. What Jordan Wright needs to do is go out there like a complete madman, like he did in the Ike Villanueva fight, like he did in the Jamie Pickett fight, and try to finish this dude in 60 seconds. If he does that, he's got a chance. If he goes in there and tries to wrestle Zach Pauga, he's going to get smoked. I mean, Jordan Wright's not taking down Zach Pauga, who's working and training with Curtis Blades every single day, working on that defensive wrestling. So after hearing that, I mean, I've no interest in betting this fight. Typically, you want to look at an under in a Jordan Wright fight, but Zach Pauga's not a finisher. I still think he can absolutely finish Jordan Wright, but I think it could be coming a little bit later. So I'm not laying like minus 150 on the under 1.5 rounds, although it is a Jordan Wright fight. It did open up at plus money. I would have liked to get that, but laying minus 150 on a Zach Pauga fight to finish under, I think if it does finish under, it's probably Jordan Wright getting the win. So I probably won't have a bet on this fight, Weezy, because I'm not laying this much chalk on an under 1.5 rounds. I think it's Jordan Wright early. I think it's Jordan Wright within the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds, or I think it's Zach Pauga in that late first or second round. And if Jordan Wright goes out here and tries to wrestle, I think he's getting smoked. I think that would be the dumbest decision he can make. So as far as a pick, I'm actually going to take the dog in Jordan Wright. I don't think I've picked him yet in the UFC. I constantly shit on this guy nonstop, but I think it's going to be the first time I do pick Jordan Wright just to go out there and get the upset, go out there, land a big shot early on. But I need him to go out there and fight like a complete madman to get this done. If he goes out there and does not fight like a madman, he's going to gas out. He's going to look terrible and he's going to get finished. This is a fight that I'll be targeting on DraftKings, but from a betting perspective, nothing sticking out at this moment. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fire co-main event?
Yeah, I don't know what to do with this fight, man. You know, when you reminded me of something back when I was in high school and I wrestled. There was this kid that was like a couple years older than me who wound up going downstate, and he was the youngest of 11 boys in the same family from the same mother, and like the dad was like a wrestling coach, right? So if anybody knows anything about wrestling, the baddest ass wrestlers are the youngest in the family because they get the shit beaten out of them by their older brothers their entire life. And they finally get into a wrestling room, right, with somebody their own size and their own age. And they absolutely put these kids' heads through walls. It's disgusting because they're used to having to defend themselves against much bigger, much stronger, much more experienced wrestlers, right? So it's not only size and strength, it's technique, you know? So you learn by getting your ass kicked. And that's what Pauga's doing over at Team Elevation, you know, grappling with a guy, you know, like Blades, who's way, I mean, Blades is a big heavyweight, you know? Jordan Wright's a middleweight. So you're so right, dude. If Jordan Wright thinks because he's in the wrestling room with the janitor, Vladimir Matyushenko, who now is 57 years old, you know, and that he's actually having some decent sessions in there with Vlad, you know, it doesn't mean you're going to be able to go out there and throw around Zach Pauga, you know? So, yeah. And I think Jordan really does fashion himself a wrestler now. We've seen that change in his game between the Silva fight And then the Barrio and the Todorovic fights, he went out there wrestling like a lot. You know, it was very surprising for people that were betting those unders. They're like, why is Jordan Wright wrestling? You know, so maybe he does come out and he gets back to his roots and just tries to blow somebody up in the first 30 seconds. And I think that's probably his best chance here, because Zach's going to be too physical for him, too strong for him. And Zach's really good at distance as well, you know. So he showed that. And, you know, look, when this guy was in the house, these guys that he was fighting in the house, these corn-fed white boys that could, you know, Bartling and I forget the other guy's name, you know, they were 6'5", 260-pound heavyweights that weren't able to take Zach Pauga down. So, I mean, if they weren't able to take him down, I don't see Jordan Wright having any success there. So Jordan Wright better strike. But yeah, look at this. Here's a funny stat, right? Jordan Wright with his piss poor striking defense, especially at range, 44%. That's about as low as you see at distance striking range. Zach Pauga at distance, 74.3% distance striking defense, man. You know, so yeah, it's probably Zach Pauga here, but I cashed a couple of units betting on Mo Usman against this guy because I didn't think he was that great. And I don't get in the habit of, you know, betting on guys and laying minus 280 on a 35-year-old man who's only had 6 pro fights, you know, and was playing football before this, which means his body is probably already a wreck.
Yeah, man. Zach Pauga's not good, but Jordan Wright, I mean, the guy is just a liability, dude.
Yeah.
It's hard to honestly, it's hard to pick somebody that has a win condition of you have to go in there in 2 minutes and 30 seconds to finish the guy. And nowadays he's not even taking that path no more. He's going in there and wrestling, and he's not a wrestler, and he's not wrestling Zach Pauga. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, Zach Pauga is minus 275, which is kind of wild to me. I mean, but I can see the argument. I can see the argument. Jordan Wright plus 235. The under 1.5 minus 155. I can't quite get there. I love betting unders in Jordan Wright fights. I always do it, and it's worked out every single time but once. But I can't lay minus 155 here. I don't hate like the fight doesn't go as a parlay piece. I'd be shocked if this fight went the distance. Even though Zach Pauga is not much of a finisher. He's fighting a middleweight in Jordan Wright with no striking defense and no chin. I think he does finish him second or third. So other than that, just not much interest in this fight. I'm going to root for Jordan Wright. I'm a big Jordan Wright fan. A lot of people think I hate the guy because I never pick him. I always shit on him. But no, I like the guy. I like his style. And I'm hoping he pulls it off because I want this guy to stay in the UFC. But this is probably his last chance, Weezy. If he loses this fight, he's going to be 1-4 in his last 5 fights, maybe even 1-6 in his last 7. In that one win coming against Jamie Pickett. So rooting for Jordan Wright, but I'm not really going to get my hopes up, especially after hearing the news that he probably might come in here and wrestle.
Yeah, he's not a wrestler, and he's too old to become one now. So, yeah, throw that wild-ass spinning shit and try and clip him early like you did against Ike Villanueva.
Yes.
And hope for the best. I think that's Jordan Wright's best way to approach this fight, and I think he should absolutely do that.
Yeah, that's by the way, that spinning kick against Ike was nice. The first thing he threw landed.
First thing he threw, man. I had a bet on Ike. I was like, oh God, no. You know, because like there's some, you know, you lose bets. It happens all the time, but sometimes you lose bets spectacularly. And that Ike Villanueva bet was so bad, you know. And like sometimes it's fun to lose like that because then at least you can laugh at yourself. Like I had the finish only prop for Marc-Andre Barrio against Chidi Njokuani, and he got slept in like 20 seconds. I'm like, well, wrong that time.
Oh yeah, and trust me, I've been wrong betting against Jordan. I remember being super confident in Jamie Pickett. Jamie Pickett of all people, I was super confident. I laid a unit on him, and he got smoked by Beverly Hills Ninja.
I think I might have been with you there too. I think I might have lost money on that fight as well,
man,
because I said to myself, Jamie Pickett's durable, man. And Jordan Wright's got 2 minutes of gas, so he's just going to weather the storm and get him out of there. Well, wrong.
Yep, the durability did not hold up in that fight, which was just a weird outcome. All right. Now we have the main event. If you guys have not already, be sure to smash the like button. Subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. Me and Weezy go live every Sunday, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Time. We are here live on Monday due to the Super Bowl. Make sure you guys become a member here at Pub Sports Radio. Go check it out. I'm sure I saw the link that was dropped in the comments a little bit earlier. And then also be sure to check out that Pub Sports Radio contest on pubsportsradio.com. $100 to first. And we'll see who gets it this week for this card. Kind of a challenging card from a prediction perspective, I think. All right. So we have the main event. We have Jessica Andrade going against Erin Blanchfield. We got Jessica Andrade, 31 years old, 5'1" with a 62-inch reach. Blanchfield, 23 years old, 5'4" with a 66-inch reach. We have Blanchfield 8 years younger. Blanchfield with a 3-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage. Tail the tape heavily in favor of Blanchfield there. Andrade, she is 4-1 in her last 5 fights. A knockout win against Caitlin Chukagian, a knockout loss against Valentina Shevchenko, a knockout win against Cynthia Calvillo, a submission win against Amanda Lemos, a decision win against Lauren Murphy. As far as Blanchfield, 5-0 in her last 5 fights. She had a decision win against Sarah Alpar in her debut, a decision win against Miranda Maverick, a submission win against JJ Aldrich, and then a submission win against Molly McCann. I was really looking forward to the Tala Santos Blanchfield fight. I thought it was the proper step up for Erin Blanchfield. I wanted to learn a little bit more about her. Beating Molly McCann and JJ Aldrich and Alpar Maverick didn't really tell me much. I wanted to see how she fared against somebody in Tala Santos who honestly probably could be flyweight champion right now. I went back and watched that Santos fight. I thought she beat Shevchenko 3-2, winning those first 3 rounds. But yeah, I really wanted to see that fight, but Santos had to pull out. In steps the very handsome Jessica Andrade. And this is just a big step up in competition for Erin Blanchfield, going from Molly McCann to Jessica Andrade. It's an interesting fight because I feel like we're going to find out very soon who's going to win this fight. I think if Blanchfield's able to implement her game plan, get this fight down to the mat, she can very well win this fight. If she's not able to take down Jessica Andrade and Andrade stuffs those first couple takedowns, I think Blanchfield is in serious danger. I think Blanchfield striking, it is improving, but it's nowhere on the level of Jessica Andrade at this point. What I like most in this fight is going to be the violence aspect of things. It's not really from a numbers perspective, but more so from a perspective of, I think if Blanchfield gets this fight down to the match, she's very, very dangerous with that submission game, with the ground and pound. And we have seen Jessica Andrade finish a lot, actually. We saw most recently she was finished by Shevchenko, where Shevchenko was able to take her down multiple times and just completely dominate her. So I could see Blanchfield getting on top and doing that. But if Blanchfield is not able to get the takedowns and this fight is at range and this fight's on the feet, like I do expect Jessica Andrade to beat the living crap out of Erin Blanchfield. Really looking forward to this fight, Weezy. It's actually a really good main event here.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, whether it would be Blanchfield Santos or Blanchfield Andrade, this is a great fight, and it's such a great show-me spot for Erin Blanchfield, who has done everything that could be asked of her thus far. This Erin Blanchfield girl is only 23 years old, and look at what she's already done. 10-1 as a pro. The only loss coming to Tracy Cortez on the regional scene, which was a razor-close fight. She was wrestling with Tracy Cortez, looking very good doing it. I really think Erin's got all the tools in order to succeed at this level and potentially fight for a belt. I think she will be fighting for a belt. I think that's almost a certainty. And then with Andrade, we got to keep in mind here, this is a less than a 4-week turnaround at this point. So we're going to have 2 weight cuts in a very short period of time for Jessica Andrade. She just went 3 minutes with Lauren Murphy. And I mean, Jessica's probably hurt. Her hands hit Lauren Murphy's face about 3,000 times, and her hands are probably still killing her from the beating that she put on Lauren Murphy. I can't wait to see how Erin's wrestling does against Jessica Andrade, because Erin Blanchfield, 4 UFC fights, 4 wins, 2 of them by submission, 11 takedowns. You look at the control time numbers, Brady, they're ridiculous. Now, I know it's against Alpar, Maverick, Aldrich, and McCann, but she's got 61.7% control time for, and she's allowing less than 2% control time. That is almost a 32-1 ratio. 32-1 of control time to control time allowed. She's winning about 97% of the control time positions that she finds herself in, and she's finding herself in control time positions for 63% of her UFC cage time. So she's very focused, and even at range, she's winning. Now, it's not against the level of competition, obviously, of Jessica Andrade, but 8.33 strikes landed per minute at distance, only 6.47 absorbed. She's out-voluming her opponents. And Andrade, over a very large sample size of 22 UFC fights, has got excellent distance striking numbers for somebody who's so undersized. A lot of those fights took place at 135 earlier in her career, but the distance striking numbers are still there. The pressure from Jessica Andrade is enough to break any fighter at this level. But Blanchfield's got a great reactive double leg takedown where she ducks under your overhand right and puts you on your ass. And once she puts you there, man, she's very, very dangerous. The Miranda Maverick fight had to be the biggest eye-opener for me because Miranda Maverick is a very good wrestler and an excellent grappler in her own right. And Erin Blanchfield made her look like Molly McCann, you know? And let's not forget that if Maverick were to fight McCann right now, Maverick would 30-27 Molly McCann by taking her down in every round and doing almost as badly as what Erin Blanchfield did to Molly. So the fact that Erin did that to Miranda is just really, really impressive. So Jessica Andrade's takedown defense and grappling defense are going to be tested. But like you said, Brady, man, if she's stuffing takedowns, I think she probably knocks out Erin Blanchfield by the second round because that pressure is just too much. And she hits like a man, you know, she hits like a handsome man. Right. And that's really what it comes down to here is that Jessica's pressure is such a huge part of what she does and what makes her successful. She's really only losing to champions. I think the last 4 losses are Valentina, Rose Namajunas, Weili Zhang, and Joanna Jędrzejczyk, right? All of them champions, you know, some of them the greatest names that there are in women's mixed martial arts. So yeah, this is a great fight. It's a very intriguing fight, and it is a huge show-me spot and step up for Erin Blanchfield. And there's reason to believe that she's ready right now for this big step up. I can't wait for this fight.
Yeah, man, it's an interesting one. I think from a money line, I'm probably going to stay away. A couple reasons. So on the Blanchfield side, I went back and watched that Aldrich fight. Yeah, she won it by submission, but I was not really liking how she looked in that fight. Aldrich was able to stuff all 4 takedowns. And then Aldrich actually took down Blanchfield twice, which was very interesting. But yeah, she kind of struggled in that Aldrich fight. Took her a while to get going. If she takes a while to get going in this fight, I think she's in trouble. The reason I can't bet Andrade here is for a couple reasons. The first reason, I missed the line. She opened up at like -150. She's like now -190. The second reason, she's coming in here on short notice. I don't really like that. I think she'll be ready though. I think her cardio is going to hold up. Jessica Andrade, she's like, I don't know. She's like she can throw a million strikes with a ton of power in it, and she'll never get tired. I don't know if short notice is going to change that. So I don't like the short notice. So I would like a full camp, especially if I'm laying chalk like this. And then the other reason I don't want to bet Andrade is the Valentina fight, which is kind of weird to say because it's Valentina Shevchenko. And I don't think Blanchfield is on the level of Shevchenko yet, but Blanchfield's only 23, and I think she could be there very soon. But that Shevchenko fight, which is not a great look. Shevchenko was able to take down Andrade, just ragdoll her 7 times, and just completely beat the crap out of her on the mat. I could potentially see a scenario where Blanchfield does that, but I'm more so on the Andrade side, and I'm more so on the violent side. I think if Blanchfield does implement her will, get the fight down to the mat, land that ground and pound, that submission game, I think she could eventually break Andrade and finish her. And I think if Blanchfield can't get the takedown, I think she's in a lot of trouble here. We take a look at the odds. We see that Andrade opened up as a -190 favorite. She went all the way to -125 to -150. She's now down to -170. Blanchfield opened up +165. She went all the way to like +105, and she's now back to +145. The fight goes decision, plus 180. The fight doesn't go decision, minus 220. Over under sit at 3.5 rounds. The over 3.5 plus 125. The under 3.5 is minus 155. I am eyeing that under 3.5 rounds. I think whoever gets this done, I think it's done fairly early within the first round and a half, 2 rounds. I think we're going to know real quick what's going to happen in this fight. Weezy, any thoughts on the money line? Any thoughts on any props? Anything sticking out to you?
Yeah, so Andrade, I would just be absolutely terrified to bet an over in a Jessica Andrade fight, no matter who she was fighting, whether she was at a disadvantage or at an advantage. She's just such a good finisher. And the same thing with Blanchfield is, we saw Brogan Walker Sanchez decision, Sarah Alpard decision, Miranda Maverick decision, but then all of a sudden, she finishes JJ Aldrich the very first second that she gets that head. And then she just destroys Molly McCann. And frankly, there's a couple different places where that Miranda Maverick fight could have gotten stopped. And it was basically a 10-8 in every round. So she's really dominant now as well. Both of these ladies are incredible, Brady. Blanchfield is incredible. Andrade is incredible. I can't wait for this fight.
Yeah, I mean, if it was to see, if this fight was like who's more handsome, I think Andrade would be pushing minus 1,000 because Andrade is clearly the more handsome fighter, especially with that blue hair.
Max bet,
even at minus 1,000, I think there's value there. So we're going to see what kind of hairstyle she shows up with. But I'm going to go Andrade here. I'm curious to see where the line goes. Looks like money's pouring back in on Blanchfield. I'm going to sit back and wait. We'll talk about the props and stuff more on probability, but yeah, I think under is a solid spot here. I think somebody does get fit. Like you said, both fighters so dangerous, where they're really good at. Like Blanchfield on the mat, she could have she almost finished Maverick a couple times, I think, in that second round. And then on the feet, Andrade is just no freaking joke. I mean, Andrade finishes people more often than not, unless you're lucky Lauren Murphy, which, by the way, that fight could have been stopped 70 times.
The pressure and the volume, the combination of those things that Jessica does. And then in addition to that, there's power there too. For a little girl, she's got a lot of power. She's stout. She's strong. So, Andrade is just so difficult to deal with on the feet. The pressure is sometimes enough to break fighters. You add the power in there, and then you add the conditioning to be able to push that pace for way longer than most athletes are able to. That's what makes Jessica Andrade such a dangerous fighter.
Absolutely. Well, Weezy, this is a card, and this is a card that we're going to watch on Saturday. On paper, probably the worst card I've ever seen, but I'm hoping it delivers. But yeah, some of these fights are like rough. Like I can understand maybe like one bad, like I can understand like an OSP Lins fight on the card, but there's like 4 fights like that I just want nothing to do with. So it should be interesting though. And then next week it's not much better, to be honest. Vegas 70, and then we have the return of John Jones to look forward to. So 2 weeks where it's like, and then we have a big pay-per-view card in 285, which I will be attending live in person. But yeah, Weezy, let the people know where they can find you, what you have going on, and we will be doing probability tomorrow. You good for like 5:15 Eastern around there?
Yeah, that works for me, man. Yeah. So you can check us out on the MMA Engine YouTube channel tomorrow to take a look at a data-driven look at these time props on probability, 4:15 Central, 5:15 Eastern. You can find me on my YouTube channel, Uncle Weezy. Tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Central Time, I'll be doing a full card breakdown, give you the stats, give you the tape study notes for all 11 of these fights, give you my track bets, finish with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week, and I'll probably be doing Ask Weezy on Wednesday this week. I think I'm doing a guest spot on somebody else's show maybe later on this week. I'm forgetting, though, right now who that is. Is it the Chronic Combat guys? I think I'm doing with the Chronic Combat guys. But either way, it's going to be a busy week breaking down these fights, looking to find ways to stack cash tickets like flapjacks. Appreciate all you guys hanging out on a Monday night instead of a Sunday night. Football's over, though, so we'll be back to our Sunday time slot next week. So thanks for watching, everybody, and let's kill these bookies this weekend.
Heck yeah. Today's been rough for me, man. I had to do my full card breakdown, took about an hour. Clint's show took about 2 hours. This show's approaching 2 hours, which I don't mind talking. I could talk fights all day, but it really hurts your mental talking like Jordan Wright type fights. It really hurts you. But got through it. I still have to finish a little bit of a workout, and then gonna head to bed, and then wake up and just continue doing some content. So you guys can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers, TikTok, DFS_numbers, doing a lot of content now on TikTok and Instagram, video content, doing the shorts as well. So check me out there. Wednesday got the DFS show. Other than that, Friday the live stream 7:00 Eastern time on my channel, DFS by the numbers, and then we have the best bet show on Saturday, 2 hours prior to the prelims, so it's gonna be at 2. And I want to try to remember who's on. It's Narco Cop. It is, I think it's Danny Betts, and then it is I forget the other guy. But it should be a fun show. And I think Lou Betch is still in first. I'm in second. Gordo's in third. I think Weezy, you're in fourth. So curious to see how that best bet competition works out. But other than that, leave a like, subscribe. This should be a card that we're all going to try to enjoy and try to make money. I have some spots, and let's get it, guys. See you later.